So what we're going to do today is we're just going to basically carry on modelling. I was hoping to get that whole section there done in the last tutorial, but it was starting to get a bit long, so I thought probably better to start doing it in the second one. Okay, so just going to start off how we started the other day, by selecting this edge with the move and shift, and we're going to drag that across to here. So basically model this little indent we have here, drag that across a second time. Again, the gun goes in again here. We're not going to model that section from that image, we're going to do the one that has the little in-outy bit, I guess, for attaching the laser sights and all that sort of jibber jabber. Right, so what I have done is with this second segment here, this edge, it's going to give us a nice it's giving us the foundations to attach this trigger guard to the rest of the mesh just up here. But first off, I'm just going to model this indent. I'm going to select those two edges. I'm going to put click a little box here, which will give us this float on top menu. There's a few options on here. Don't know what pitch does, but slide lets you change the position of where your segment appears in the mesh. On default, it's takes an average and puts it slap bang in the middle, basically. But with this, we can move it left and right. I'm going to put 3 segments in, which should be enough to give us quite a nice curve in there. So I'm just going to select all of it. All of those move out, so I'm just going to drag them in. That means that these two on the outside, 2 edges which aren't in the middle, are going to be have exactly the same x coordinates, and then we're just going to select the one in the middle and drag that in as well. And there we have a nice curve. Next thing we want to do is drag this out to here, and what we want to do is we're going to add enough vertices to this outside edge to be able to target weld to these positions. So I'm just going to select insert vert on the edge tool, and I'm just going to 1, 2, 3, and that should do it. I'm going to press number 1, go to my vertices, and I'm going to just select target weld, click, click. What's my vert here? Yikes. There we go. And target weld there. And I'm also going to target weld this to here and this to here. That's it's a little messy, really. I think I'm just going to pull down these 2 edges a little smidgen. Just try and even out this curve that's along here. Should be better. What you'll notice as well is that we've got an edge going along here, and you can see it's a bit funny there, which is just an edge, which is not, or a triangle in the wrong place. So we're just going to, under edge tool, we can either hit edit triangle, where we select one vert, or click on one vert and then the next, which which will move our edge accordingly, or we can select the turn tool where you actually click edge specific and it will flip them around. That looks a bit neater, a bit better. It's got rid of the arrow that we had. This vert here, we don't want to move it anywhere along the x-axis because that's just going to cause errors really. We'll make it not look so smart. As you can see, this whole line along here and this whole line along here are all exactly the same down the x-axis. Anyway, carry on. Select these edges here. I'm going to drag these over along here, and I'm just going to take the y coordinate from this vert here, and we want it to be perfectly round all the way around. Perfectly along the y-axis, sorry. I'm rushing a bit, and I sound like a retard, but that's cool. There we go. Okay, so what we have here is where this vert has moved up, there's a slight hole in the mesh. So what I want to do is insert a vert onto this edge here, and I'm going to target weld this new vert onto where the trigger guard comes up, and that should get rid of the hole. Select this. Yep, see there's no hole anymore. And we also just want to bring out this edge here. I'm going to target weld the geometry we've already got, and then move this vert up to the same Y position as all of this here. There you go. So that's that section done. What I'm going to do is unfreeze everything. I'm just going to hide this front image. So it's now time to start modelling that. The reference isn't amazing, which is a bit of a pain. But what I'm going to start by doing is just pulling out this. I find this little section here can always be a bit of a pain to model, but it's one of those little sections that never really gets seen in any game because of the first-person view. You find that you don't see much of the gun at all. If you have a look here, you can't. It's just back facing basically. So the quality of modelling on that little sections like that aren't overly important, but important all the same. Right now I'm just holding down the shift key, and I'd selected this edge along here, and in fact, because I'm going to do it with these two, there's a slight curve in front of the gun. It does look as though there's a slight indent here, which I'm going to model. So this is all just holding down the shift key and dragging. And rotate these two very slightly. Actually, I'm not going to rotate it. I'm just going to select that edge of this vert here. I'm just going to pull it out a wee bit. Just makes the transition of that curve slightly better. Right, I'm just going to target weld these two verts down. Let's create that little indent there. I'm guessing that this is a little something to help put attachments on. I'm going to take the Z position of these two verts here and transfer them over to these two verts. Again, just making sure that it's perfectly straight along the bottom until those two verts there. Right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to model this flat section, well, not flat, but I'm going to model that section using this edge. And then last of all, I'm going to fill the hole which we're going to end up having just here. I think that's the best way of doing it. It's the way I've normally done it in the past. Okay, so we've got an up, and then it goes in, up, out. A quick look at my okay, just wants to come up now. And then it comes out a little bit at the end. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure everything's in the right positions relative to all the other geometry. So I'm going to take the Z position from here, transfer it to here. Oh. Also the X position. It's all definitely in a little bit too far, but this is the way I like to model really. I put all the geometry in and then just tweak it after. We also just want to give this a quick optimise. A lot of the time I find myself optimising as I go along rather than doing it at the end. So optimisation is basically getting rid of any unneeded polygons to reduce the poly count. Find that most game engines have a lot of restraints on the amount of polygons you can use. I mean, use a bit of a mishmash between how good the game can look and how well it runs. You obviously want as many polygons as you can, but you also want it to be running as best as possible. At the best. Right. Let's have a quick look. What I'm going to do is just insert a couple of polygons down this edge, vertices down this edge. It looks like there's a slight curve to this section. Oh, these are always a pain in the arse to model, these bits. Alright, I've just made a slight curve on the inside as well. I'm actually going to insert a vert here. What I want really is for there to be the same amount of verts on either side, so we can just create a load of quads, chuck them in. So I'm going to take all these Z positions from these, from the detailed side, and put them onto the main body of the gun. Again. I'm just going to use the bridge tool again, just to connect these up. Okay, and you can also just use the create polygon tool. It's a big mess. There. And this is why I hate modeling these little bits. Connect. A lot of the time it's just trying to figure out the best way to have your triangles. I've been a right retard. I just sat here and recorded another load of this tutorial and forgot to press record. So now I have to do it all again. Can't remember what I was up to. Right. I've deleted everything which I made while I wasn't recording but thought I was recording. And I'm going to start it all again. Fun. Okay. I was having a bit of trouble doing this little section here, so I stopped the video and had a little fiddle about because I didn't want to make the video tutorial too long and have it just a video of me twatting about trying to get stuff right. What I ended up doing was making this section along here straight along the Y coordinates. Use the connect tool to connect an extra segment of polygons down here, and I target welded the top and bottom and just drag it out ever so slightly just to create a slight dip, slight curve on there. That was it, I think. I think that's about it. Right, what I'm going to do is create this front section along the top, the clip, that's about it. I'm going to try and go a bit faster because I'm a bit peeved off that I did all that work and then didn't bother saving it. I didn't record it properly. So I'm just holding down shift to create some geometry. I'm going to take the Z position from there. Oh, sorry. Y position from these verts, move it across to here, and then I'm going to use the create tool to fill in a hole here, and lastly I'm just going to drag out this set of edges and use the same Y coordinates from these edges here and paste them onto the edges here to create a nice straight front. Next thing we're going to do is just drag these edges in ever so slightly, like so. Just going to round it up. It's going to look a little messy at first, but hopefully a little tweaking will sort that out. So I'm going to put in that vert there. It's a little bit wasted not doing anything there, right, just here at the moment, so you don't want to waste those polygons and bring that in. So that creates a slight curve in the front. What I'm also going to do is connect a row of polygons along here, just to reduce how sharp the curve is at the front here, because it was a little strong. Right, what I'm going to do now is create the little slide section. To be honest, normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it to show you how I would do it if I was going to do it. Again, this whole front section, you're not going to see it ever, unless you want to do some really crazy fancy animations with the gun twisting all over the place, where you are going to see it. But I mean, to be honest, most of the time you're not going to see it, and it's just a waste of polygons. If you don't put polygons in places you're not going to see them, it gives you more polygons to put them in places where they are going to be seen, and not the detail of your gun. But to say I'm going to do it anyway. So I've got the slight curve. I'm going to just select these edges, hold down shift, drag them in. I'm then going to reposition all the verts that I've just created. So this one needs to go along 0. This needs to take the Z coordinate from here and put it to here, this vert. And the rest of them I just need to move about a little bit. Just to create that curve. So there we go. That's the curve. Next thing I'm going to do is hold down shift on the same edges and just drag them down here. To be honest, I think that's probably coming a little bit too much. Change it in a second. There we go, it's a bit better. We'll need to do a little bit of tweaking. So I just selected these two polygons and just dragged them out a little bit, and then tweaked my previous mesh to make sure it flowed correctly. Alright, what I want to do is create a polygon to fill this hole here. What I could do is drag this little section back to about here, insert a vert around here using the edge tool, and then fill that hole in. That is going to create more geometry, which we don't need to do, because we've got plenty of geometry all the way down the back here, which we can use instead. I'm just going to take Y position from that geometry and transfer it over. To say, I mean, none of this is really going to be seen, so it doesn't matter that it's wrong and goes the whole length of the gun. And it in turn saves us polygons which we can use elsewhere in more important sections. So now that that's in position, I'm just going to create that polygon. There you go. I mean, I guess these little sections here might be seen anyway, this curve, when you've on the shoot animation you've got the slide popping back. Ooh, in fact, sorry, I didn't want to do that. Sorry, I've got to model something else first. I've got to model the slight inwards indent that we can see along here. But not. So I'm just going to select these edges along the top and just pull them in. I'm just going to line them up with this vert here. So I'm going to need the Y position. From that vert, I'm going to transfer them to all of these verts that I've just selected, or just pulled out, sorry. Actually, sorry, I don't. What I'm going to do, because I got the wrong one, I've selected all my verts, and up here I'm just going to name these verts. What that does, it basically just groups what you have selected, and you can select them whenever you want. So I'm just going to get the X position, from this vert. Control C, and I can click this drop down box and select the verts which I've just grouped, copy them in, and then lastly select this vert again, which I'm trying to line them up to, take the Z coordinates, use our drop down menu again to select our verts which we want to reposition, and transfer the information over. Lastly, I just want to fill up the whole target world. It looks like that some of these are actually uneven, so I'm going to have to go through. As I said before, they take the average position. Oh, so I'm just going to take our x-axis or x coordinate again and just reposition these all ever so slightly. And just lastly need to finish off, drag that up, target world. I want to take the Z position in this vert here and put it across here. Oh, forgot about that. Need to pull him up as well. Target world. We've already got the Z position, which we need to put on that vert down the end there. There we go. And now we can go through and create the polygon. There we go. And that's given us the curve that we wanted. Just want to pull that in. Looks a bit odd. A little odd. It's very odd actually. What have I done? I think I want to get rid of that. Get rid of that and that. I've just got to tweak this slight error that I've made. Gosh, it's so annoying. I didn't get any errors on the one that I just went through, and it was absolutely lovely. The error's just here. Sometimes I try and save so many polygons that I end up just making a mess of things, and it doesn't end up looking quite how I wanted it. But basically this curve which I've created stops when it reaches this curved section here, and I've just got to go through and make a few adjustments to this section to get it working correctly. I think that will do, really. There we go. Other little thing we've got to do is fill in that little hole. So we're going to use the bridge tool again. Just click one to the other, and then we're going to insert 3 verts, 1, 2, 3, and target weld up to the adjacent verts to fill in the hole, and then just go through and turn the edges just to make it as neat as possible. The other thing I'm going to do is just slightly pull these out. They look a little odd. And I think these are meant to be slightly curved up in that position as well, like so. Have a look with the edge faces turned off. Yeah, that would do me. The last thing we need to model is a little section here on the back. I just pressed F4 to turn the faces back on. The Glock we've got did have an image of the back somewhere. There we go. There's a little sticky uppy bit there. So I'm just going to select these 2 edges here, pull those up, hold down shift, and pull them along the y-axis. We don't actually have geometry to attach this to on the back here, whereas we did on the front for this little section and this piece of geometry along there. So I'm just going to insert a vert, and then I'm going to use the Y position from here, put it onto here. Oh, so I'm going to go back a couple of steps. I want to pull this up, and then I also want to select that edge as well, so that we've got the step as well. And now I want to insert the vert. Y position, put them on here, and then I can just use the bridge tool to connect that together. I mean, as you can see, all along here, around here, there's plenty of stuff to optimise, but we'll do that towards the end. So I do like to do it as I go along, but sometimes it's better to save it towards the end. Last of all in this tutorial, I'm going to do the clip quickly. I'm going to do that by selecting these few edges here, or polygons, sorry. Hold down shift, drag it down, and I want it to be a new object known as clip. You do want to name your geometry and bones as much as you can. I have named my gun, as it helps with the pipeline of work. You never know who's going to have your model next. Perhaps they're going to be animating it, perhaps they're going to be texturing it, perhaps they're going to be compiling it. And it's easier, it's a lot quicker if you rename your stuff and they don't have to sit and twiddle about and try and figure out what it's called themselves. What I've done is I've copied this little section and I've scaled it down. But I've scaled down the actual object itself rather than selecting verts or edges or polygons and scaling it. And what that changes is the scale of the object. So along the Z we have a scale of 46, which is very, very bad. You want everything, everything to have a scale of 100. Otherwise it will make a lot of errors when you actually get the weapon in game. Things will be inside out, things will not be in places where you expected them to be, even though in Max it's all fine. So what I'm going to do is finish making the clip, and then I'm going to show you how to get rid of that horrible error. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to sort of position this, and then I'm going to drag, sorry, I'm going to put my transparent material on. I'm going to drag this up to here. I don't know if I want a long clip or a short clip. I'm going to go for a short clip. Put that down to there. I have been debating whether or not to make this into a TMP, silence TMP, or with an extended clip, or just a normal clock. But I guess I'll just go for a normal clock for now. So I'm going to select this inside edge, drag it down to the back there. And finish off by holding down shift again and putting it along the x-axis and positioning it to 0. What I want to do is take the position of the verts here on the main weapon, and I just want to transfer it over to here. That was the z-axis, by the way. Right, so I'm going to select these along the bottom. I'm going to hold down shift, and I'm going to just do a uniform scale outwards. I'm just going to drag it out. Both of these down the seam of the model need to be on 0, as always. And then it's just a case of having a quick fiddle about to get this all into the right positions. I think I'm just going to main sort of side of the clip in a bit. And pull this forward. And I'm just going to reposition these verts around here a touch. This one here I've got selected now. I don't want to go in this direction or up and down, just the x-axis. That's just for when we optimize later on towards the end. It'll just help with that, keep the mess down. I'm going to select this load of verts. I'm just going to pull the bottom of the clip out. And last of all, I'm just going to try and pull that down straight. I just need to do a little bit of repositioning. So these want to come down to here. It's annoying, so I'm trying to follow this reference, but my model is slightly different. I think that wants to come down quite a bit. Let's pull that down to there. Yeah, so I've been sort of modelling off one reference, which is slightly different to the reference I'm using for other parts of the guns. Hence why it's not going to be perfect, but tough. Now I'm going to go back to the solid view. I'm going to finish off, I'm going to select the edges around here. I'm just going to hold down shift and pull them along the x-axis. And now I'm just going to target weld up the big hole that's left. Sometimes it's better to do it in that manner than to just do a crate polygon, because it gives you these edges here. I mean, especially say if I lifted that up, I can do that and not affect the underside and still keep it flat. I'm not going to do that. Just moving these back to 0 as well along the seam. Quite happy with that. Like that. A lot of people as well, they like to do all the metal flaps or whatever you want to call them up around the top. I generally don't bother because they never get seen unless you've got some really crazy reload animation where it's putting a clip in your face and all that sort of lark. It's just, again, waste of polys. So all I'm going to do is just create a polygon on the top there. And last of all, I'm just going to change my pivot. I'm going to do effect pivot only, center to object, put it onto move, not scale, and then just right click here to put it down the middle, down our seam. To finish it off, I'm just going to put a symmetry modifier on. Okay, and that's the clip finished. In fact, actually, I am going to pull this out a touch, even though I said I wasn't going to. Doesn't look too round. There we go. Now unhide. So that's what we should have so far. Click and go quick in and out, quick, 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 with some fantastic sound effects there. But that will be it for now. Next tutorial I'll start work on the slide, which hopefully won't take too long. And yeah, I guess I'll just do the slide next one.